Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and my fellow ministers from 3 NATO allies standing here with me. It sends a message, I think, to look at these fine troops from several NATO nations working together, training together, and making certain that there's no misunderstanding, that we all stand together in defense, purely in defense. There's nothing offensive here. It is defensive to make certain that the NATO Alliance Article 5 is understood by everyone at home here in Lithuania, in the Baltic neighbors, and certainly elsewhere in this region. So with our ministers, we've had some good talks this morning together as we share an appreciation of the situation and of the road ahead. And what you see here with the Enhanced Forward Brigade is matched in several other Baltic nations as well. This one with a strong German contingent, but allied nations also part of the battle group under the commander of the German commander here. It shows the way NATO can be interoperable and our troops can come together and work together and, if necessary, fight together. So can we take your questions? And the ministers are here, so please direct your questions also to them, because I don't want to answer them all. Yeah.
Mr. Secretary, do you share the concerns of the Baltic States that Russia could leave troops behind after the Zabad exercise or use the exercise to upgrade and modernize the forces they have in this region?
Well, the question has to do with the Zabad exercise that the Russians will run. This is a routine exercise. I trust it'll stay routine. At the same time, NATO will conduct its exercises here. They're exercising today, tomorrow. They're on an exercise right now. And our concentration is on showing the unity of NATO at this time of year and making certain there's no misunderstanding there. So no concerns, simply staying very visible. NATO is very visible, as you see here today. You can see it, but it's also indivisible when it comes to its partnerships with each other. We are unified as an alliance, and that's really what we're all about out here, Julian.
Mr. Secretary, Lolita Baldor with the Associated Press. In the wake of the announcement yesterday, the Turkish foreign minister has said that any weapons that are going to the YPG threatens Turkey. Did the Turks express these concerns to you yesterday when you spoke to them? And how much do you think this threatens the U.S.-Turkey alliance?
In the alliance, in NATO alliance, all of the nations are co-equal. We have very in-depth discussions. Turkey is a NATO ally. It's the only NATO country that confronts an insurgency in its own ground from the PKK, and we will work very closely with Turkey in support of their security on their southern border. It's Europe's southern border, and we'll stay closely connected. We have very open discussions about options, and we will work together. We'll work out any of the concerns. I'm not concerned at all about the NATO alliance and the relations between our nations. It's not always tidy, Lolita, but we work out the issues.
Andrews from Margus has a question.
Mr. Secretary, I'd like to ask about the air defenses, which are the major hollow defenses in the Baltics. Do you think NATO and US should do more to help the Baltics to plug that hole in order to create a real deterrence? And for the ministers, I'd like to ask, will you be asking the United States to deploy Patriot battery in the Baltics beyond the summer exercises?
The question is about the air defense, and we will deploy whatever capability is necessary here. The reason for the deployment you see right now is the lack of respect for international law by some nations, by a nation in the region. And so long as nations show respect, then we wouldn't have to deploy that. But we will talk to the leaders of each of the nations, and we'll work this out in Brussels, and we'll work together if necessary. Any of you wish to say something here?
Well, already we hear from the Secretary that all defense systems which are necessary will be in the region. And, well, we are not speaking here about the real tactics, real concrete specific systems, but also speaking about air defense. It's not only what we have or we will have in Baltic countries, but also around us.
And one last question from Latvia.
So, a question to Mr. Secretary. How would you evaluate the effort the Baltic countries has made to increase defense spending, and is there something you would bring to the table for the next NATO summit on that?
You know, in NATO, there is a goal that all the nations signed up for at Wales. It was 2% of GDP to be spent on defense, and 20% of that to be spent on basically filling in capability gaps with modern systems. These nations are a model for the trajectory they are taking their defense spending. They are serious about it. They are setting an example of growing their defense. In the case of Estonia, they're already at 2% and going higher. Lithuania and Latvia are on the right track. We salute what they're doing. The American people are heartened by what they're doing, and we have no reservations about the direction they're on. We're completely aligned with them. Okay?
This is as much the time as we've got. Thank you so very much for the questions. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, young lady. Thanks for letting me